So, what does the world know about Las Vegas? Maybe you think we're a city simply designed to entertain the world. But we're much more than that. We're a community full of families, schools, churches, and commitment. And on the worst day in our city's history, that commitment was at its strongest. Now, this ain't Detroit City. It ain't the Windy City or New York City. This city is strong, Vegas strong. For the last 30 years, I have prepared myself. I have persevered and I have weathered the storm so that one day, this day, I could share my dream, my vision, my show. To bring hope and relief, to bring entertainment, news, and information to you my way, doing well by doing good. To those in Africa, Rome, Asia, Argentina, Brazil, Australia, even the Maldives, and all across America, I thank you for following me on my journey. This is What's Next, the MOJ Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Monica Jackson.
Hey everybody, welcome to the MOJ Show. I am so happy to be here with you today, especially in light of everything that's going on. I know that a lot of us are stressed out about this coronavirus. We've heard from everybody all over the world about it on social media, you know, the emails, and sometimes when you watch the news, you get more depressed than informed because everybody is just scared. They don't know what to do. And my husband and I both are from Detroit, Michigan, and that's one of the hot spots right now. So we totally understand how a lot of you are feeling. We have lost family members and family friends as a result of the coronavirus. And of course, just like a lot of you, we're unable to attend the funerals, can't say goodbye and all that. But you know, God is able, and I totally believe that. And I think that's one of the reasons that this platform came into creation, just to try and make everybody feel a little bit better about the future, because this too shall pass. I can promise you all that. And with that said, with the MOJ Show, we wanted to come up with something, a segment that would inspire a lot of you to reach out, share some of your stories, and it's called What's Really Important. So here on the MOJ Show, we want to know what's really important to you. We want to talk to you. We want to hear from you. So before we start the segment, I want to let you know that we'd like to hear from you on our website. It's called What's Really Important at MOJshow.com. So write that down, What's Really Important at MOJshow.com. And as we move into this segment, I tell you what, my first guest here, I read his bio and then I read his bio again. And so many things stood out for me. So many experiences that I know of, so many experiences that happened in my family. But when I tell you it's inspirational, it is unbelievable. His name is JON Ponder. And John, I know that was a long intro, but I wanted to put it out there because I want people to really understand the dynamics of this interview and why it's so very important. How are you?
Certainly. Absolutely. Thank you, Monica. Well, you know, my backstory is that, you know, I grew up the product of a single parent home, grew up in New York. You know, dad left home at a very early age, leaving mom raising 5 knucklehead boys and 1 knucklehead girl all by herself.
Yeah.
Right. So growing up inside that environment without the dad in the home, my story is just like everyone else's. The streets led me to the drugs, drugs led me to the gangs, gangs led me to criminal activity, and that criminal activity led me to my very first set of handcuffs at the tender age of 12 years old.
Oh.
Yeah. So coming in and out of the system, it started. It did not get any better. I caught my very first felony conviction at 16 years old. And life just kind of spiraled out of control from there. in and out of jail systems and county jails and prison systems here in the state of Nevada. And then I got stretched out in a maximum security United States federal penitentiary, about to go behind 50-foot walls. And for me, Monica, standing in that prison cell, about to face that much time, I had a conversation with God inside a prison cell, asked him to, to step in and become the Lord of my life and to turn my life around. And unmistakably, he did. And out of that, a tremendous transformation had taken place in my life. I had become the man that God had created me to be, and coming into full possession of that, my heart really broke for the other men and women who are facing those same challenges that I once had to face, to do everything I can to help to remove barriers from helping them, preventing them from being successful, and to help to escort them up to the next level of life.
As I'm listening to you, John, you know how some people would say, skeptics would say, you know what, every time somebody go to prison, all we hear is, oh, they went and they found God. But for you, you are not just talking the talk, you are walking the walk. Take me to that, as they say, that rock bottom moment where you were like, okay, enough is enough. I know God has something better for me. This cannot be it. Take me to that moment where you said, I can't do this anymore.
Absolutely. It was personal for me, Monica. Again, facing that time in solitary confinement, again, about to go before the judge, and he has a potential to have me go to prison for the next 23 years of my life.
Oh.
I found myself inside that prison cell. I had a chaplain had come by and dropped the Bible in a daily devotional through that the little food flap, and out of boredom, I picked up the Bible. I started reading it. God really started working on my heart, and I had some conversations with God. And again, before I was going to go into the courtroom, I asked God, let's make a deal with God. I asked God to go before me inside that courtroom.
Yeah.
And I asked him to climb into the robe of that judge, right? Judge James Mahan. And I asked him to move Judge Mahan out of the way. And I made a promise to God. I asked him to search the meditation of my heart. And what I was about to say to him was that whatever time I get, whether it was going to be 10 years or 50 years, I told him that I was going to dedicate the rest of my life to serving him in the mission that he has on my life. And then unmistakably, God showed up. Right? And I did not get what it was that I deserved. I was on my way to prison, still going to do this maximum security time, but I used every waking moment of my time during my period of incarceration, number one, to find out who this God is that everyone was talking about, and then I discover who it is that he created me to be. And the more and more, Monica, I began to understand about him and the magnitude of what it was that he's done and everything that his word promises that he's going to do, the more and more I began to understand about me and who it was that he created me to be. And that's when I realized that I'm not the name that the streets gave me. I'm not the name that the homies in the neighborhood thought that I was, right? I'm not even the name on that pre-sentence investigation that the Federal Bureau of Prisons prepared for me. I am who God says that I am, and I can do everything that he has called me to do.
I tell you what, okay, I'm a journalist, so I'm not supposed to get here. I'm getting a little Holy Ghost feeling up here. Because that story is a story that I've heard before, and I know, born and raised in the church, how this goes. Right. You know that when even before you get in trouble, you're supposed to be calling on God.
That's right.
For you, it was a different path. You learned the hard way, but you learned better than most. I want you to take me through that first step when you decided, okay, I'm not going to be that man anymore. The first step you took, because I like to know the nuts and bolts of a story.
Sure.
From 0 to 100. How did you go from 0 to 100? How did you get involved with an organization that is now changing lives?
Right. Yeah. So for me, it was when I had gone off to prison again. I spent all my time studying and reading, learning about the Bible, understanding the inner workings of business and the psychology of why people do what people do, in order to understand why John Ponder did all those crazy things that that I did.
Yeah.
So in learning that, it came a point, Monica, when I became well learned, and just learning everything that God was teaching me. Right? It came a point where God was saying to me, all these things that you're learning from this point forward, I want you to spend as much time as you possibly can with me, because I'm going to begin to teach you things that's going to be able to help a massive amount of people. So in that, I tell people that God had impregnated me with the vision of hope for prisoners. And all those years behind bars, it was just getting more and more and more pregnant with it. And in 2009, when I was released, I came home and gave birth to this vision that God had impregnated me with.
Okay, let's talk about that, because that's one heck of an analogy. He impregnated you with this vision, and now you got to give birth. And for all of us who've given birth, that's a hard thing to do.
Oh, yes, it certainly is.
For you, when you become a warrior for God, and you know this, that's one heck of a road. A lot of people want to say, "Oh, he's working for God; it's going to be easy." It's the hardest thing you will ever do.
It is.
You did it. Tell me how you started it.
It really is one of the most difficult, most challenging things that I have ever encountered before in my life. But I tell people, prior to going to prison, Monica, I faced the single greatest adversity of my entire life. Right? But because I had dedicated my life to the Lord, God turned that into the single greatest asset that I have ever been in possession of. So while I was in my alone time with God, and he's sharing with me these things about hope for prisoners, and when I came home, Monica, it was tough. It was hard. It was challenging. And I'm trying to put this hope for prisoners thing together. And to be quite frank with you, every door had got slammed in my face. Yeah. Everyone was saying, no, this is not going to happen. Do you know who you were, and things of that nature?
They don't believe you. They don't believe you.
Absolutely. But I always tell everyone, when the world around you is telling you no, you always hold on to that yes that God had given you.
You know what, John? I'm going to stop you right there. We got to take a quick commercial break, but I want to get more into this, because I think your words even now will continue to change lives, and I'm hoping that they'll touch somebody who is watching this right now. Stay tuned, folks. Once again, it's the MOJ Show. What's really important at MOJ'Sshow.com. We want to hear from you, even if you just want to comment on what John is saying, because I'm telling you, we ain't even got down to the nuts and bolts of this story. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We live in one of the most amazing cities in the entire world.
Mommy, did you know that stuffed animals and toys shouldn't be left in my crib? Blankets look comfy and warm, but it's easy for me to get tangled up in them. You can dress me in extra clothes if it's cold outside. Pillows seem harmless, but they're actually dangerous for me in my crib. Always put me on my back and alone in my crib. That's where I'll sleep the safest. Help us educate the world. It just might save my life.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the MOJ Show, and this is a segment called what's really important. Amid the coronavirus crisis going on right now, we wanted to pull and draw on those things that are positive that are happening right now. We know that you're inundated with a lot of heavy news, a lot of painful news, a lot of sad news, to be quite honest with you. So we want to uplift you, and we have a lot of those wonderful stories coming right here out of Las Vegas and all over the world, but we're starting right here in Vegas. I want to invite you to email us at what'sreallyimportant@mojshow.com. Don't forget to like, share, post, tweet, subscribe, and of course, turn on notifications. Just a quick recap. This is JON Ponder. He is the CEO of Hope for Prisoners. It's an organization that uplifts those who are trying to reintegrate into our community. And John, we left off with you talking about trying to put the pieces of this organization, as you say, that God impregnated you with this idea, Hope for Prisoners. So continue your story. How did you finally get the pieces to come together?
Yeah, so it took years of just hard work and staying focused and a whole lot of praying. And the people that had come alongside us many years ago and kind of helped put legs on the vision. I tell everybody that God's given me the gift of visionary, but I'm not necessarily the guy who puts the legs on the vision. We're praying those folks in, and one day, we took a leap in faith, stepped out in faith, and pulled the trigger and got running. And we started out helping just 12 people and never looked back from there.
Wow. Okay, so what is your mission statement for this organization, and how did you convince others to do it? Because like you said, nobody was jumping on board. There had to be that one time in this process where you looked at this person and said, look, this is who I am. This is all I can do. I need your help. Take me there.
Right. And having those early conversations early on. Our mission is to help men and women who are being released back into our communities, to help them to successfully get reintegrated back into their home, back into the workplace, and ultimately help them to be stand-up leaders inside our community. And some of those early partners who had jumped on board is, we have this unprecedented partnership with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, and having a conversation with our now undersheriff, Kevin McMahill, who was a captain in the Boulder Area Command. And in that conversation with him, I think that Kevin McMahill, he got it. Understanding that the police officers couldn't not arrest their way out of the ills in the community. So we started asking this question: what can the police department do to help men and women who are returning back to our communities to live a successful life? And, we kind of breathed on that and never looked back from there.
John, okay, the first question that pops in my head is, and I go to like this suspicious mind. My sister is chief of police for Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So I'm always wondering, okay, you have a record, right? And that's the first thing I'm sure they looked at. You come to them and say, hey, I'm talking about the police. You go to them and go, hey, I need your help with this. What was their reaction to you? Right. Were they skeptical at first? How did they react to you?
It's kind of funny because it was actually the other way around. With us having our boots on the ground and just working and trying to put pieces of the puzzle together, I believe that they had seen the success that we were having, and I was actually approached by the police department, and again, that question was, what could they do to come alongside to assist our mission, because our mission so closely aligned to theirs. They didn't, they weren't looking to just continue to arrest people. And I think that in within the police department, they see those things the Bible calls it generational curses.
Yeah.
Grandpa was arrested, dad was arrested, the son was arrested, and so forth and so on. But what could they do to help step in and break that cycle?
So tell me about Hope for Prisoners. What is the process if I know somebody who is maybe they have a month left and they're going to be getting out, and I need to help them find some sort of support system, some sort of support network? How does it all work from the day they get out of jail all the way through the system. Give me that breakdown.
Right. You know, one of the things that I love about our partnerships that we've established with Nevada Department of Corrections, I believe that the new director, Charles Daniels, is just doing a phenomenal job in our partnership with LVMPD, working very closely with the Clark County Detention Center. We have the very unique opportunity to work with the men and women prior to them being released.
Oh,
We don't
okay.
wait. We don't wait for them to hit the gate and begin to start thinking about these reintegration processes.
Okay.
It gives us an opportunity to go in through those partnerships and start working with them early on. So we go in, and the first thing that we do, we identify people that's going to be getting released anytime between a week and up to 18 months. And we start doing an assessment on them. And in that assessment, we want to do a risk and needs assessment, obviously, to determine what kind of level of service we want to provide. We want to do a substance abuse assessment, because if you take a look at the massive amount of people that are currently incarcerated in prisons across this country, drugs and or alcohol had something to do with their incident offense. So we want to make sure that we get that addressed so we can, provide those services. And then we go into a work assessment, right? We want to do a work keys assessment, find out what is it that this person might have the aptitude to do vocation. Okay. In many instances, Monica, unlike many prison systems and other states, what we're doing right here in the state of Nevada, is we're providing vocational training for them prior to them even be getting released.
We're going to get more information from John here. I can talk to him all day long, but we got to take a commercial break. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We've been in Vegas for like 6 minutes when I look up and think, that's different.
That's so different.
What's not different is I'm hungry, so I grab pizza that's breakfast in a food hall that's an Italian market where Italian foodies eat. I head to the pool where I meet my buddy and a girl who's like, do you play cards? Turns out I don't. So we find some slots that are really giant animals surrounded by infinite mezcal. I feel like a winner. Meet a couple in town for the show at the arena across the street. Roll a hard 8. Discover a bodega that leads to a restaurant that reminds me of a K-Town food truck. Get mistaken for a celebrity and pose for photos. Hit a club inside a record store with a limo for a DJ stand. Get dragged into karaoke. It's groovy. Battle a famous rapper and win some respect. Then literally stumble into a speakeasy where I grab an album that inspires the bartender. Head outside to the bus that's actually a DJ booth and a bar. I join the crowd and go sing and dance with the diva. Bump into this guy as I dip into a restaurant that's more like a library, and there's the diva. She buys me a drink. I send her one back. And I feel like I didn't see any of this coming. Not at all.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the MOJ show. I am truly enjoying my interview with John Ponder. He's the CEO of Hope for Prisoners. Once again, that's Hope for Prisoners. And John has a backstory to back up everything that he is doing right now. He himself was incarcerated and finally turned over a new leaf when he hit rock bottom. He told us that story, and he's giving us more information about Hope for Prisoners. So make sure to email the MOJ show. We want to know what's really important. That's a new segment for us. What's really important at MOJshow.com. And we want to hear from you and share some of your stories as we are here with John. And John, before we go any further, I know people are like, well, what's the email address? What's the email address? Give us your email address so folks can reach out to you whenever they need to do so.
Oh, absolutely. Not only will I give you our organization's email address, which is info@hopeforprisoners.org.
Okay.
But my personal email address, and I'd love to, to hear from your audience, is JON@hopeforprisoners.org.
Okay, give us both of those one more time.
Right. So it's info at hope for, and it's spelled FOR, prisoners.org. And my personal email address is johnp@hopeforprisoners.org.
All right, folks. And again, we're going to post that for this interview. So don't worry, all the information will be there. John, we're getting back to the story of you taking us through the process of a prisoner getting out, reintegrating into society. But what you guys do, and I think you said it's something like no other states really do, is you start before a prisoner. And help me with the language. I don't know if I'm supposed to still say prisoner once somebody is about to be released.
Right.
What happens during that process?
Yeah. So in that process, again, we want to identify those things, and we put a strong emphasis on addressing the issues surrounding the circumstances that led to the incarceration. Okay. We want to do those needs assessments, and asking those questions is, what is this individual going to need once they get released? And sometimes that might be identification. Sometimes that might be the need for them to get reintegrated back into their family. And by the way, that has been a mismark in reentry since forever. It's like no one's ever given the particular close attention to men and women that are coming home, that they have to go back to home. They have to go back to wives and husbands, and particularly to be able to get reintegration with their children. And you know, if that piece right there is not right, then everything else in the world has a tendency to fall apart.
It can wreak havoc. I've seen that. If they're not integrated with the family, it will break. I've seen it happen.
Yeah, so we want to make sure we put an emphasis on that. But that vocational training is so very, very important, because we know the importance of helping formerly incarcerated people to find sustainable wage jobs. And we have to understand that some of the folks that are in our prison systems have never worked a legitimate day before in their life. So we, as a community, expected them to come home and find a job and become a productive member in society, but they have no idea what that might look like.
And you know what, John, I think a lot of us judge, self-included. I told you, I growing up in Detroit, I've seen a lot of this. I have some family members who've gone through it. And the reintegration part can be very challenging. But one of the things you have to look at is, you tell a young man, like you said, you were very young. 15, 16-year-old, you tell them you can make $100 in the next 10 seconds, or you can go work at a fast food joint and make $5.75 or $10 an hour. Which one do you think this child who's had no guidance in life is going to take? So it's very easy for them to be repeat offenders, to just fall back into it. To me, a child is like an empty canvas. And until you paint the picture of life for them, they're going to fall through the material. They're going to fall through the cracks. So somebody has to be there to imprint. And let's be honest, it's mostly young Black and brown men here in America. And that's the elephant in the room that people don't like to talk about, but it is true.
Yeah. You are 100% right. And I love the way that you phrased it, that you have to paint the canvas for them. One of the things that I learned, Monica, and I can tell you from my own personal experience, is that the majority of people really do want to change. They have no idea how to do it. So, but when you can come alongside some individuals, and help them to make those cognitive changes, to help them to understand that there is a life outside those prison walls where they can, be like the next guy that's being successful without having to go back to that thing that's pulling them back into that life. I tell them that's the greatest fight that they have at that moment, is fighting that gravitational pull back into whatever that was in the past. I love
the way you said that gravitational pull, because we all like familiarity. So if I go back into my community and I see, John Q standing on the corner, I know he got a stack of money and I'm broke as can be. What am I going to do if I don't have that help? So I love the fact that this inside and out. And now you are, I hope you don't mind me saying it, you are a minister, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so when you decided, because again, I was born and raised in the church, that's a heavy lift. So you're taking on that position, which is an anointed position by God. And then you're taking on this other position of being an advocate for a community that we ignore, quite frankly, and we don't try to help, and we judge them, and we make all kinds of assumptions about them. How in the world, John, did you manage that? And how are you managing it now? Because not only do you have your story to tell, you have to continue to tell these other stories to help other people.
Right.
And you got to preach on Sunday.
Monica, I tell everyone that, the work is very challenging, but the work is very rewarding. So whether I'm here, there, whatever it is that I'm doing what it is that God called me to do. God cares for not only my story, but my story. He cares about the stories of everyone else, right? That are facing these things that they need to face. So being able to help them to realize the potential that God has for their life, right? Jeremiah 29:11 says that God has a picture perfect plan for everyone's life. And it's a plan to prosper them, not to harm them. It's a plan to give them a hope and to give them a future. And I believe that what God has positioned me to do very uniquely is to come alongside some other folks, right, to help them to see that future, to help to remove the veils from their eyes and open up their eyes to the possibilities that are out there in life. And when you can get folks to focus their attention on something other than what has been in their past, that is where hope gets born. And when you can help folks to have a faith in a future unlike their past, that's when they find hope in the moment. But it's important for you to be able to stay there with them and help walk them through that process, that they're just not out in the community by themselves, right? That there are people that are going to be there with them. Some of us, the subject matter experts, some of us who have been there, done that, help them to navigate those challenges. And for those of us who have been there and done that, when we come alongside of them, we can help to create reference points where no reference points may have never been have ever existed before.
You know what? I'm sitting here in my mind, I'm saying, Lord, thank you so much for allowing John to go through that, because he was, as you say, educating you and impregnating you with his vision. And when you become a warrior of God, this I know for sure, your road is not going to be easy. Your road is not meant to be easy, because to me, you have to come away with a testimony and you have to glorify him. And I see that that's what you are doing, and you're doing it in a very big way. I'm honored to be talking to you today, to be quite honest.
Well, thank you, Monica. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
There's a passage of scripture that has forever changed my life, and it exemplifies the work that I'm doing. And it comes out, and it's not only for me, it's for everybody. In Romans 8:28 and 29, the Bible says that all things work together for the good, for those who love God and are called according to his purpose.
His purpose, yep.
It doesn't say some things, it says all things.
All things.
And when we look back over our life and see all those things that we have been in the middle of and God has brought us through, how that works together for the good is when we allow God to pull us through that.
Yeah.
And we turn right back around and help some other people through that same thing. That's when it works together for the good. Right?
Well, I tell you what, you have done some huge things. And folks, when I tell you big things, John, I want you to talk about Stand Together, the Stand Together Foundation, the partnership that you have established. And by the way, folks, this man has been to the White House. He has gotten the attention, yes, of our federal government. I'm going to let you talk about that, but first of all, tell me about your partnership with Stand Together and how that came together and what it all means for your organization.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. I cannot speak enough about the Stand Together Foundation. The Stand Together Foundation is committed, is an organization that's committed to breaking the cycle of poverty by supporting creative solutions of individuals and organizations who are driving dynamic entrepreneurships in communities across the country and helping folks to transform lives. They were founded in 2016, and the foundation partners with the nation's most effective, top-performing nonprofits to help them to deepen and grow their impact through innovative solutions to break barriers for people in poverty so that they can realize their true potential. Been working with Stand Together organization for about 2 years. When we first met them about 2 years ago, they took us through this very rigorous training program with a dynamic network of other social entrepreneurs, and they worked with us in our organization to refine the best practice and increase our social impact. So, always being in contact with them. When this COVID-19 thing hit, they immediately reached out to us and said, what can we do to help? And doing that, they asked, what are the challenges that some of our folks were facing? And when we had gotten shut down, everything is closed, people getting laid off, and our folks, to be quite honest, got hit really, really hard.
Yeah.
Right. Some of them laid off, and same fighting the challenges everyone is facing.
Right.
So the Stand Together organization, we are so grateful. They raised some money. They donated $50,000 plus $50,000 plus to our organization.
Wow.
Giving us the opportunity to take a look at our clients that were struggling. And they hooked it up to where each of them, 101 of them to be exact, they deposited $500 each into their bank account.
Okay, let me just be clear about what you just said, because I'm not sure. Okay, so we've been in this crisis, roughly for just over a month. Stand Together reached out to you, John Ponder, and said, hey, what's the need? They gave you $50,000 to take care of your people.
Yes.
They deposited $500 into the accounts of 101 of your people.
Right.
So that must have just happened in the last week or so, 2 weeks or so.
Absolutely. In the last 2 weeks, it happened. And Monica, when I tell you the stories behind how grateful our clients are, that they were saying that it came right on time. There was one client in particular, his grandfather had just passed away.
Oh.
He and his wife and other people in his family just got laid off, and they didn't have money to perform the cremation. And the $500 deposited into that account, it was just right on time, so that he could have enough to be able to perform the creation. Other clients reaching back saying that, they didn't have enough to pick up medication or pick up diapers or just get groceries. Or some of them had to move back in with their parents, but they didn't want to now become a burden to parents. So they used some of that money to purchase food for the entire family. So we can't thank Stand Together enough for even having the insight to see that we would possibly need, and then reach out to make sure that those needs got met. Forever grateful to them.
I tell you what, like I said, I don't know if I would want to be in your position, because God didn't put a heavy load on you, but you are performing well. You are performing. I mean, you're outstanding. Okay, so we're going to take another commercial break here, and I want you to tell me about your visit to the White House, Mr. Fancy guy here. So, folks, once again, it's the MOJ show, and this segment is called What's Really Important. So we want you to email us, what's really important at mojshow.com. And we're going to be interviewing a lot of folks, hopefully here in the next several weeks. We want to get the good stories, make you feel good, because we know in the age of Corona, it is very, very stressful for a lot of you. And I think John has been the perfect guest to kick it all off, because he's bringing a whole bunch of spirit to the MOJ show. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back.
I think word of mouth has been my best source of building business. It makes me feel good knowing that I'm not cheating somebody, or I'm not gonna, sell them short. That people don't earn your business, they take it. Or they don't earn your money, they take it. And I don't want to be that guy. I want to have a higher energy. I'm Pete Tellefson. I'm the owner of PT's Pest Control.
The bigger companies tend to not give you that person-to-person type of service, and I feel like I get that from PT's.
I was looking for a new pest person, just given some of the bugs that we had seen in our yard, and so I had reached out, and it's been such a great experience so far. I felt like he was really genuine, and that this was really a great service and a great value for me and my family.
I'm very happy with PT's. We've had companies in the past that have charged us a monthly fee, and they've come out every month, where Pete doesn't do it that way. He comes out every few months and sprays our yard.
PT's Pest Control was the right choice for me, and I'm sure it's the right choice for you.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the MOJ show. This is a new segment that we've kicked off. It's called What's Really Important. So we want you to email us what's really important at mojshow.com. We're going to be talking to a lot of you, interviewing you. You're going to be on my show and, getting a lot of your stories, because our goal here is to make you feel better in an age where we're all just pretty stressed out. We want you to like us, share, post, tweet, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. My first guest for the What's Really Important segment of the MOJ show, his name is JON Ponder. And if you've been watching this show, we have gotten some of the best spirituality, I think, within his story than we've had in a very long time here. JON is a former prisoner who changed his life. And he says it like it was really no big deal, but it was a big deal. And when he got out, he used what he learned to help others, and he's helping other inmates reintegrate into society in a huge way. And I do mean in a big way. It's called Hope for Prisoners, folks, and we want to make sure you have all the information that we can muster up here for you. So, JON, once again, thank you so much for being here today. I want you to give our viewers the websites that you gave earlier, just so that they can reach out to you.
Certainly. That website is www.hopeforprisoners.org, or you can certainly reach out to us through email via info@hopeforprisoners.org. And
you guys are on social media. You're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we'll have those handles on our website as well.
But
awesome. Once again, you have done so much. Stand Together, the Stand Together Foundation has partnered with you. Hope for Prisoners, you're partnered with the local Las Vegas Metro Police Department. You are reaching out and doing a lot of work here in the community. This is one of my favorite things as a journalist, news anchor here in Las Vegas, to see people who live here lifting up this community, because I think it's important and it's incumbent upon all of us to do it. As a pastor, you not only bring your experience from your incarceration, but you bring spirituality, letting people know that this can be done. I did it, you can do it too. So thank you for that. Let's talk about your recognition at the White House, Mr. JON Ponder. Tell me how that happened, when you got the phone call that you were going, and how it all turned out.
Right. And what an honor that was. And I think that it culminated from a series of events going out all over the country, sharing my story, sharing what Hope for Prisoners is doing, sharing some of our success rates, which is one of the highest success rates in the country. And out of that, I had gotten a personal invite from the White House that President Trump wanted to recognize me on a National Day of Prayer. So May of 2018, I had the opportunity to stand in the Rose Garden, at the White House, and President Trump told my story to 14 million people that was watching. But the thing that really stood out to me on that day is that the president, and praise God, give God all the glory, he talked about the transformative power of Jesus in my life.
Yes.
He talked about the importance of prayer and how God had turned my life around in that prison cell. And that for me was such a gigantic honor. And what was really phenomenal about that is that it wasn't so much my story that was told. Again, it was recognizing the power of God in my life when I had made the decision to surrender my life to the Lord and make Him Lord of my life, and invited Him into my heart. My life went in a 180-degree turn, and I know that if He did that for me, He would do. He is no respecter of persons. He'll do that for anyone. But
Yeah.
what an honor for the president to do that. We had several subsequent meetings after that. I've worked very closely with this administration on the First Step Act and some of the things that they were asking. I was very honored to be able to give my opinion from someone who was on the inside and
Yeah.
that relationship with the White House.
You made yourself an asset to, you know, the president, because nobody can tell you anything. You've been there, done that, like you said.
Yes.
Give me maybe an excerpt from the conversation that you had with the president and or, you know, one of the individuals in his administration. Talk about that for me.
Right. So again, working very closely with the administration and working with Jared Kushner, my dear friend Pastor Paula White. We were talking about the importance of what we alluded to before, that we have to make sure that we have the resources available for inside the institution prior to folks being released, right? That we cannot have these pre-release programs while people are incarcerated, and you start thinking about those things 60 days before you're about to be released. It's too late. You have to get those things done early on in the system. And again, you have to make sure that you're providing those resources, and, you know, reentry should begin at day one.
Okay.
When someone is going into prison, whether or not they are going to do, 5 years of 50, right? Let's help create an environment to where you create this learning opportunities that people are going to spend every waking moment of their time to prepare for the day that they walk outside the gate. And those are some of the things that we had talked about. I'm honored that they had taken a look at that, and some fantastic things that was put in the First Step. The First Step did not have everything it should have included, right? I know there was a lot of pushback from that, but the First Step was just that. It was the first step. It was a gigantic step, but it was a first step, and looking forward to seeing what the second and third steps might be.
So when you say the first step, is that what you all decided, okay, we had this meeting and here's what you need to do. So you all put that into a package, and now is that law? Is that on the books? How does that work?
Yes, it certainly is. It was not just me. It was other, subject matter experts and other pastors and leaders from all over the country. And the good thing that, I can remember specifically sitting in the Oval Office, and he asked a group of us around the table. And again, there was other people from all across the country. They wanted to know what was the challenges you were seeing in your community where reentry is concerned.
Okay.
So we had a chance to really voice our opinion, and we're talking about, formerly incarcerated people finding jobs, and not just minimum wage jobs.
Right.
But they're going to be able to earn sustainable wages,
right,
so they can take care of themselves, and more importantly, be able to take care of their family. And they heard that. They heard the family reunification component. They heard about the early on getting the training, the vocational training for when folks are being released.
Very good. When you walked away from that meeting, when because to me that seems like it would be a surreal moment where you were called to the Oval Office to talk about what you know about intimately. When you walked away, what were you thinking? What were you saying to yourself? Because I know you had a conversation with God going as soon as you stepped away.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Monica, I got to tell you, when I remember the day vividly. I stepped outside the White House, and I'm standing on the lawn, and I said to myself that, number one, I can't even believe the conversation, right? Because everything that they were saying that they wanted to do was, and from my opinion, my personals, was the things that needed to be done.
Yeah.
I knew that on that day, where it relates to prison reentry, and in the vein that I'm in, everything that they said they were going to do, they did.
Wow.
Right? Everything that they said that they did, even to the point where I remember 2 years ago, President Trump said that he's going to come to Las Vegas and he's going to speak at a graduation and hope for prisoners. And I was like, man, that'd be a great idea. But in February, he fulfilled that promise.
Wow.
He spoke at a graduation ceremony here in Las Vegas. It wasn't a campaign stop, because I know some people tried to make it political.
Of course.
It wasn't political. It was him coming out and honoring the men and women that were graduating on that day, to celebrate them for what it is they're doing. He stayed after, and this was even part of the run of show, but he wanted to make sure that he personally shook the hand of every one of those graduates walking across that stage before he left.
Yeah. You know what? I think it's really important to tell these stories. Again, we know what's going on right now. It's really tough for everybody. So when we find these little pockets of goodness, again, the pockets of what's really important, I think it's incumbent upon us to share those, because again, it's all about glorifying God in His works, because sometimes He uses people. Hello.
Yes.
and the road is not easy. It's sometimes it's not pleasant, but in the end, man, can you make a big difference? I got to go to another commercial break, John, but I want you to talk about some of your other partners when we come back, because you have some pretty heavyweights supporting you outside of the Metro Police Department and Stand Together Foundation. They've done a great job, but you have some other partners as well. We're going to talk about that. Stay with us. We will be right back.
And we're getting a picture on the TV. You got a good picture, huh?
On July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong walked on the moon.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
There's only one roofing contractor in Las Vegas that was there back then, and they're still around today. Torque, the original roofing company, putting roofs on Las Vegas for over 50 years.
Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the MOJ Show. Hope you guys are having a great day. We are launching a new segment. We've already launched it. It's you today. And it's called What's Really Important. So we want you to email us at that very address, what's really important @mojshow.com. And we want you to know we don't just talk, we do. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make you feel better in the age of the coronavirus. Email us. Tell us where you are. Tell us where you're from. We hear from people from all over the world. And we want to hear you tell us your age and what has the coronavirus done in your life in terms of how it has affected you. I know for a lot of us, it has us asking the question, what's really important now? Because, getting up and going to the nail shop ain't important to me no more. You can tell here. Going to the beauty shop is not important anymore. Surviving, living, and having a healthy family, and for me personally and my family, praising God and keeping things in perspective. Those things have risen to the top. Most have always been, but it's more important now than ever. We have never experienced anything like this in our lifetime. The last time something like this happened was the Spanish flu. So this is all new for us. But once again, at the MOJ Show, we don't just talk, we do, and we want to hear from you. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. Just kidding. Okay. So my first guest is John Ponder. John is pretty amazing. And I hope you guys have the opportunity, for those in need and for those who just want to know more. He is the CEO of Hope for Prisoners. We've been talking to John for the last hour or so about his organization, what it's all about. And he took us through his journey and when he was incarcerated and how God spoke to him and brought him out of it. And so now he's helping thousands of people, hundreds if not thousands of people, to change their lives, because we all know that there is a stigma attached to folks who've been incarcerated. I'm guilty of it. You're guilty of it. We've all done it, or at least thought it in our minds. But John is here to let us know that they are people too, and they need love and support just like the rest of us. So once again, email us. What's really important @mojshow.com. Like us, share, post, tweet, subscribe, and please turn on notifications. John, so the last time, before we went to commercial break, we were talking about your visit to the White House, and how you received so much support, and that really inspired you. And in addition to that visit and your partners, you have really garnered a lot of well-established partnerships here. Tell us about some of your other sponsors. I don't know if I'm supposed to call them sponsors or your partners here in the community and nationally.
Right. So it's a combination of sponsors and partnerships. And even when I go across the country and people ask me what was that formula for success, but I'm very quick to share with them that it is 100% the unprecedented partnerships that Hope for Prisons has built up over the years. Organizations, companies, foundations coming together in just unprecedented ways. So, we talk about our national partnerships, and the Bradley Foundation out of Wisconsin, which is Hope for Prisons, is the only nonprofit organization outside the four walls of Wisconsin that they have given funding to. The Woodson Center out of Washington, D.C. But here in our local community, Monica, I have seen our local community come together in just unprecedented ways. Work with organizations like the Las Vegas Raiders is one of our collaborating partners.
Nice, John.
Yes, very, very much so. We are just very excited about that. Al Davis was someone who believed in second chances, so our mission just very closely aligned up with, his vision and mission for second chances. Working with organizations like the Ingolstadt Foundations. The biggest part has been our partner employers, helping our formerly incarcerated people find jobs.
Yes.
Working with organizations like Martin and Harris, my friend Guy Martin over at Martin and Harris, opening up those construction jobs. A dear friend of mine and board member, Mr. Donnie Gibson, who owns Civil Works, that offer folks training and job opportunities that starting them out at $25 an hour plus benefits. Right. We have a recent partnership that we formed with my friend Mary Beth Sewell over at the Vegas Chamber. And in that partnership, Monica, unprecedented. Our organization has the opportunity to work with the nearly 5,000 businesses that are underneath the umbrella of the chamber to provide employment opportunities where that is applicable. Can't speak enough about our local workforce board here and Workforce Connections that provides the Department of Labor funding for us to be able to do the work inside the system that we're doing it. And again, I'd be remiss if I did not speak about our local churches here across our valley that partner with us to provide not only the financial support, but to be able to cover us in prayer. And a huge component of what it is that we do is mentoring, and us be able to have those mentors come from the faith-based communities is just absolutely, it's a resource that is just very invaluable.
And one of the I think most important individuals in those churches, and I had one, is Big Mama. You got Sister Ferguson, you got Deacon Dandridge, because even if the program is not kicking off at their church, they cook you some food, bring you one of those care packages.
Yes.
So if you're involved with the church and they're part of this, I know it's a good thing. It's a great thing. I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of you, because once again, I know this world. I've had relatives in this world, and I know that we judge them, and I know that when they try to reintegrate into the family, into the community, we judge them, we give them a hard time, we don't give them a chance as if we're perfect. So I'm so glad that you have told us your story, and you're not ashamed of your story, you understand your story, because I think a lot of people don't know what to do with their baggage. When you have it, to me, you share it. My life hasn't been perfect. I talked about this, my entire career, radio and television. We're not perfect, but you never know who you are helping, or when you have gone through something and you share it. It's not always pretty, but I think it is incumbent upon us to share our stories. John, moving forward, what do you want? what do you want to see happen with Hope for Prisoners? What do you want this to grow into? I don't know how it can get any bigger, but you have, the vision, and you talk to God on a regular basis. Tell me what you want.
One of the things that really stands out is, we know that we built up one of the highest success rates where it relates to folks being able to find formerly incarcerated people here to find employment, and them not going back to prison.
Yeah.
So the big picture of what it is that we want to do is one day to be able to take our model national, so that we can take what we built up here in our local community in Las Vegas, Nevada, and plant that in jurisdictions, across this country. Before we do that, we know that there are some things that we want to accomplish right here in our state. We have a partnership with our, not only with LVMPD, with parole and probation and NDOC, and brought the Clark County District Attorney to the table, who, by the way, Steve Wilson, DA Wilson, sits on my board of directions, and we've created this hope for second chances. It's an alternative to people going to prison. So bringing in the judges on board as well. So when we hammer down some things that we're going to do right here in the state and get those things all bolted down, the vision is to take this model and then drop it into communities across our country.
You know what? I have talked to a lot of people in your position in terms of bringing an organization to life, birthing it, as you say. And once that momentum is built, it happens. It happens. Our mutual friend, Paula Lawrence.
Yes.
Let me tell you, you got a good person on your team, my friend.
Oh, I know.
I'm telling you, John, you better keep her. You better keep her. If you don't, I'm taking her. But I got to tell you, I've known Paula for, I think it's going on 10 years, if not 10 years now. And I watched her change Dress for Success. Been interviewing her all these years. And the dedication, and I hear that in your voice and I see that in your work, the dedication and the drive is immeasurable. It's really incredible to watch that. So I'm excited about what you're doing. I'm going to tell you right now, I'll just put it on out there. It's going to go national because your story is incredible. It's almost unbelievable. But I think that anointing that you have on your life and on your spirit is just, it's going to take you further than you could even imagine. So I'm not even worried about that. My friend, I'm going to have to wrap this up because my manager says I can talk you to death. So I need to give you a break. But this has been such a pleasure to meet you and to find out all about Hope for Prisoners. Once again, folks, it's the MOJ'S show. John Ponder has been our first guest on our segment called What's Really Important. And our goal here is just to make sure that we reach out to you to get you to share your stories. We know that the coronavirus has really stressed a lot of us out, made us very sad and upset, but there's still a silver lining. God is still in this thing, and we want to hear from you. So email us, what's really important at mojshow.com. And don't forget to like us, share, post, tweet, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And you can also check us out on social media. John Ponder, you'll be hearing from me again. The MOJ'S show will be coming for you again. We need to talk a little bit more. I got to let you go today, but we'll talk more.
Well, that is so outstanding. It's been an absolute honor. Thank you for doing what it is that you're doing, and even, being able to have folks share their stories. So God bless you for the work that you're doing. And Paula Lawrence is a keeper.
Yes, she is. I told you, I'm coming for her if you don't keep her. All right. Well, folks, that's going to do it for us. I hope you guys have a great day and continue to follow us. We're going to continue to bring you more stories. All right. That's all. Take care.
All right. God bless you.